Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's the radioactive Pop with Danny Limelight, United Wrestling Network World Heavyweight Champion. And make sure you tune into the Alliance blog every week. You heard it here first. Straight from Poppy.
Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog, the Alliance blog. Alliance? If you put an S in front of Alliance, you have Salliance. That's me.
This is Lois Crane here, and I'm advising you to do yourself a favor and watch the Alliance Guys podcast. Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast, with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, the number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name, it's J. Cal. Every Thursday, I like to chat with my buddy here, DKM. Sometimes we include another fella named Jaden. We talk about wrestling. Specifically, we talk about the National Wrestling Alliance. But today we're going to go a little off topic. Isn't that right, DK?
Yes.
As he hits the mute button again so he doesn't have to say anything else. Hey, so it was a pretty interesting week. We had some cool things happen in the world of sports, the world of pro wrestling. DK, I mean, did you find it was easy to watch NWA Power on the X?
Well, sort of. I downloaded the X video app for my TV.
I didn't know that existed.
I didn't either. I just decided to search X or Twitter app, I think, on my I have a Amazon Fire TV.
Okay.
And so it popped up, and it almost made it sound like it was new. And I downloaded it, and gave me the option to sign in using my phone, so I was able to do that. And luckily, I had the right account pulled up, so it did pull up my stuff, and it was the very careful. It was the very first thing that was on it was the live stream for the NWA. So I clicked on that to see how it looked. And I watched about 90 seconds of it, and the application crashed.
Not a good look.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's any good start. So I waited till Tuesday, but I waited for the show to be over.
Yeah.
And then I streamed it. And I was able to watch it okay. So we'll talk about our thoughts about it a little bit later. But yeah, overall, I was able to watch it, and I was able to watch it on my TV. Yeah.
Do they technically go up head to head with NXT? What time does NXT air on the CW?
8 Eastern, 7 Central.
Okay, so
I imagine that would be 7 Mountain and 8 in the West.
Yeah. I heard that a lot of people had trouble finding the CW app for the NXT audience, which, excuse me, not the CW app, but the CW channel I guess a lot of cable providers don't actually even offer the CW, that's news to me. I did not know that.
I had not heard that either. I did hear that some of the local places were showing other stuff, like
like the
Missouri was doing their news, and I can't remember what somebody else was doing, like their own thing. So I don't really know what was going on. I saw the ratings, and based on number of viewers, I would say, and more people found it than didn't, because the ratings were pretty high on it. So, there are kinks that have to be worked out.
Well, this week has been a pretty big wrestling news in general. Of course, I think that'll take us to our actual first topic of the night. And I don't want to exclude you guys in the chat. Make sure you're popping in early and often. Overmetal did his nice little zinger about the videos on the X. I don't think I could say what he said. Our pal Willie Bowen has the Tyrus joke of the day. Hey guys, Tyrus and Aaron Roberts are going to a Halloween party. They were going to be dressed as a donkey, but they argued about who's going to be the rear end. That's the first time I think Willie did a Tyrus joke that didn't involve his weight. So I'm actually proud of Willie for expanding his repertoire.
Repertoire.
And
all right, people, you know what you have to do. Go smash that like button. Go give us the thumbs up.
If you want to help Al Gore's rhythm, you got to make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And comments after the chat really help the video as well. We're seeing some numbers grow because you guys are being so cool and leaving comments after the videos and engaging in the live stream as well. And both of it helps the Al Gore rhythm quite a bit.
Al Gore has no rhythm.
Well, that's why we have to help him find it. Damn it. Overmetal said that, and I believe he's talking about the NWA, that they had over 89K views, and which means 4 seconds plus on Twitter or X. X going to give it to you. But so I guess that's kind of a win for the NWA. We'll get more into that in a moment. But let's first talk about the late.
Better than some of their YouTube numbers recently.
Yeah, but we're measuring for 4 seconds and beyond.
Oh, YouTube does 3, I think.
Okay, all right. You heard about AEW kind of winning the week. Their new television deal was announced via, all of your Hollywood Reporter type articles. The new TV rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery comes with a twist that Max will now be, in 2025, Max will be part of the whole shebang, where you can, subscribers to Max can actually watch the simulcast, meaning that it'll still air on the platforms that it's airing on now. TNT for Collision, and then, did I get that right? I think I got it backwards. Collision is on TNT and Dynamite on TBS, and what they plan on doing is having both of those brands simulcast on the Max app starting in 2025. And again, that's only for the U.S. subscribers. So if you're outside of the U.S., not a whole lot we can do for you on that one. This also is going to include quite a few, bonuses. Like there's going to be, obviously, there's some money involved, which is important. But also, like the deal is valued at $150 million per year.
And I believe
this is just being reported by the media. I don't proclaim to have the facts or the numbers. I'm pulling this from the New York Post. And then also they will be optioning the pay-per-views. You can purchase those through Max also in 2025. So that's, it's kind of a good. Say that again.
At a discount.
At a discount. Now the deal does lay waste to AEW Rampage on Friday nights, but it's said that AEW is still looking for a suitor for that show, and Fox is one of the suitors that's being spoken about. So what do you think about that? I just noticed Jaden joined the chat. What do you think about that, Jaden? What do you think about AEW's deal, its streaming, and the fact that Rampage no longer has a home?
First of all, that's another channel I won't watch it on. But Rampage wasn't doing well, and Friday nights isn't a great night for wrestling anyway. Never has been. I know that SmackDown was on Friday nights for a long time, and it did decent ratings on Fox, but I guess now maybe not. Modern wrestlers don't go out on dates. Modern wrestling fans don't go out on dates, but it's still like a busy night where everybody's always doing something, on a Friday night. I hear it all. I live in a college town. I hear Friday nights pretty loudly. So, and the Thursday nights aren't too bad either, because that's where the night the bars are open later.
Yeah,
but it's still like, it's probably a loss, a game by a loss, because that's more focus that they can do on the two shows they actually have. And I heard $150 million. That's less than WWE got for NXT, right?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
I believe it is. I might be wrong, but I believe it is. And I don't know if it's an upgrade or not for what they were getting, but it's far less than I was expecting them to settle for. But I guess that's exactly what they did, is they settled for what they can get.
What they were wanting supposedly was 2. And that was for everything combined. They were wanting 2. Now, how much is deal worth? Well, again, it depends on who you read. Some say as low as 150, some say as high as 185. From what I can gather, is the correct answer is it depends. Sounds like there might be targets that if you do this well, you'll get extra, which makes sense.
That's motivation to do better. I mean, for an extra $35 million, I'd do a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Real quick, the NXT
I might even watch the NWA. Sorry, go ahead.
No, not that.
The NXT deal is said to be valued at $20 to $25 million annually, which is a 70% increase from the deal that they had with Universal when it was on, I believe, on USA still. So it was a profitable increase for them, but not as much as what Tony's getting for both programs.
What I heard was that they were looking to double their rights fees, and that AEW was looking to double its right fees, and that $2 million was the goal, and that $2 million that'd be profitable.
$200 million.
$200 million, excuse me. Yes, and that now they're and this is for 3 years with an option on 4. That probably has another thing to do with how much money, if it's 150 or 185 or whatever. And so we'll see. So it ends the exclusive relationship, so they can shop their show out. There did seem to be some kind of confirmation that Warner Brothers does hold a small equity share in AEW, and apparently they can bring back their YouTube shows like Dark or whatever.
Oh.
Tony had said something to the effect of, wait and see for when it comes to ROH. ROH is not part of this deal. Is it a good deal overall? Yeah, I think probably for them it is. I think it about equals the NXT deal. What was the NXT again? What did you say it was?
25 million?
Yeah, 2025.
Okay. So I don't know how many years that is.
Is that a year or is that
yeah, that's annually.
Okay.
But I don't know.
a 5-year media rights deal with the CW. So
that's
125.
125 million for 5 years. That's not too bad. That's still very cheap programming. And 125 million might sound a lot, but for television, that's pennies. That's some episodes of some television shows.
And so they're supposed to be talking to Fox. I mean, I really question whether Fox will put wrestling on the network, Fox Network again. I could see them putting on Fox Sports 1 or something like that, with maybe an occasional special show. For Fox itself, kind of like the old UFC deal. And overall, it's good for them. Now, the claim is this now makes them profitable. And another person claims that this not only makes them profitable, but wipes out their losses for the past 5 years.
Well, I don't know if I believe that.
Well, here's again, it all depends on who you listen to. Some people have more bias than others. We'll just say that. And here's the problem. Tony Khan told us that AEW was profitable its first year. They were planning on losing money for 4 years in their 5-year plan or 20-year plan. Oh, no, wait a minute, that's Billy. I don't know what Tony had. But in the 5-year plan, they were going to lose money for 4 years before they ever saw a profit. But boy, they signed those TV deals and they were profitable their first year. They were making money. And then it came back, well, they're not making as much money as they're spending, but that they were making money, but now they're not because Tony's spending all this extra money on all this extra talent and large buildings that they don't fill anywhere near, and, all this stuff. And, of course, the pandemic ruined it for everybody, even though supposedly they were profitable during the pandemic, according to them. And then it came out that, well, they were never really profitable. They have actually lost money every year. But now this deal, they're profitable again for the first time, where they wipe out all their losses, or I don't know. It's that's the thing. Privately held company, they say whatever the hell they want. You don't really have a way of knowing.
Here's the thing. It probably did wipe out all their losses. Unfortunately, it meant there's nothing left over to run the event or run the company now. So let's say they lost $150 million and they got $150 million for this deal. That wiped out everything. But now they're just hopefully going to make money, on any way possible. And with the way it's currently showing, that may not be plausible at their current expenditure rate.
Just some of the comments that are kind of interesting to me. Overmetal says, actually, Sean Mega says, "Who wants Ring of Honor? LOL." I haven't watched any Ring of Honor on television or YouTube or however you could watch Ring of Honor these days.
Honor Club.
Honor Club.
Honor Club and pay-per-views.
I know our pal James H. Jackson is a loyal subscriber to the Honor Club, and he's showed me where it looks like a fun program, but I pay for so many subscription-based programming in my home right now that I don't even get to watch. Like, I think Agatha, what's the Disney Plus show?
Oh, I just started watching that this morning, and I've been 3 episodes in, and it's Agatha All Along, and it's weird, and I love it. And the only thing I can complain about it is the what's her name, Catherine Hahn. In the first episode, she's normal, and Catherine Hahn is way better when she's extraordinary.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
No, I get you. I get you.
I don't even
but
know
then after that, she's back
about.
to being extraordinary. What was that, DK? I'm sorry.
I don't know what show you're talking about.
It's called Agatha All Along. It's a sequel to the WandaVision show. Agatha Harkness, if you would know your Marvel history, who has a complicated history with the Scarlet Witch and among other characters in Marvel Universe.
I think she has a complicated history just in general.
Yeah, she does.
The thing is like that's a program that I would like to watch, and I have zero time to do it. There's so many other programs out there. I still want to finish watching Fallout on Amazon Prime that I have not got to finish watching yet. I was enjoying the Jack Reacher program that's on Amazon. I also liked the Jack Ryan program that's on Amazon. There's a lot of great shows out there. I don't have time. I didn't even get to watch them the last Cobra Kai season. There's a lot of good quality content out there on the streaming services, and I don't really feel like paying for another subscription. So unfortunately, Honor Club, I'm out. For that reason, I'm out.
Real quick, Jay, wait till the second half of the first season comes, because it's definitely a half of a season, and it feels like a half a season.
Are you talking about Cobra Kai?
Yeah, Cobra Kai. Wait till the second half comes out, because I think it would be a lot better as a whole than its two separate halves, is the way I've watched it.
Got it. Well, with that being said, like if somehow, some way, Ring of Honor ended up on Prime or Amazon, something that I'm already paying for, I would probably watch it if it was not, an extra expense. But
probably won't end up on Amazon.
Now that brings up. What'd you say, Jaden?
It probably won't end up on Amazon.
No, probably not.
But what I was going to say is that brings up an interesting point to me, because like one of the things is that on the Max deal, you can order the pay-per-views through Max, I guess, but it's at a discounted price. And I've reached the point where I'm just not buying pay-per-views. I don't buy UFC pay-per-views. I don't buy boxing pay-per-views. I don't buy wrestling pay-per-views. If I want to see my wrestling thing, the only pay-per-view now, premium live events that I watch are on
Peacock.
The
Peacock, and that's because it's still like under $5 a month for me.
Yeah.
And I do watch a couple of other things on Peacock. And so, I'm just not going to, if I can watch WrestleMania for quote unquote free, I'm not paying to see anything from anybody. NWA, AEW, ROH, MLW, Bob's Your Builder. I don't care.
Bob, your uncle?
No, Bob's Your Uncle is British. That's why Bob's Your Builder, because that's for little kids.
Well, I said Bob's your uncle because I know you have a picture of royalty in your house. I've seen it with my own eyes.
I have several pictures of royalty in my house.
I've been called a royal.
If it were up to you, would we be under the monarchy once again?
Well, not here.
You loyalist.
This is a different country with different history and different background. Now, when I moved to the United Kingdom, then
All right.
And yes, you are a royal pain in the anyway. Jay.
Anyway,
I set you up for that one, DK, and it took you too long.
Well, that's because I was making fun of Jay, and that's always takes priority.
Hey, can I point out for a minute?
Did you have a nice hat?
Well, the hat, this was a Danny Deals, hookup. But look at the shirt that I'm wearing, right? This is what we wore at the pay-per-view, and I never got a pre-look at the logo for the NWA's hat, right? And it actually works, man. It's not a bad combo. Just saying.
Can you get that shirt that you're wearing? Say maybe on some places you could order it?
Yeah, I think it's still available on the merch shop on our on the I can't talk anymore. Sorry. On our Streamlabs merch site. The link is in the video description. That and a lot of other cool shirts are available for purchase. But yeah, this was what we wore at the pay-per-view. And if you guys saw the hard cam, you sit there and watching our boy Sam Retro right behind Billy Corgan all night, wearing the same dang shirt. It was pretty dang cool.
Pretty dang nabbit.
Dang. I finally figured out the guy's name who was sitting next to me all night, Jaden. It was Milk Mascaras.
Oh. Okay.
That's scary.
I like his wife, Milf Mascaras.
She's a lot better.
Yes.
Undisputed Truth pointed out something real quick. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. That show looks pretty fire. Have you guys heard anything about that?
Not really.
It's Scott D'Amore. Like, now that his contract is run out with TNA Wrestling, they're going to start doing television north of the border. Our pal Tim should go check that out. They're going to be doing some wrestling, and it seems like they're combining talent from TNA Wrestling and AEW, guys who are able to work independent dates, and they have some sort of weird connection to like Qatar Pro Wrestling, which is wrestling from Qatar, and then also Oceanic Pro Wrestling, which was the promotion that Mickey James and Conrad were doing in Australia. You guys remember that one?
No.
It's okay. It's all right.
You know what? I'm not going to get excited over Maple Leaf because
because you've been bit too many times.
Until it runs, and it runs for a while, and it runs successfully. So who cares?
I'm finally beginning to believe that TNA might last.
The problem with new promotions like that, and they've already got like 3 promotions to be part of an alliance or whatever, new pro alliance or new wrestling alliance or new pro wrestling alliance or Bob's your pro wrestling alliance or whatever.
Bob, your uncle's wrestling.
Right. The issue here's what happens with too many people is that they project all their hopes on this blank canvas because we haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
And so sure, there was some Maple Leaf Pro or Maple Pro or whatever back in the day, but so what? This ain't it.
It died like the rest of them too.
He just put up something about how a couple of they put up Harley Race and Terry Funk or whatever. Okay, so Harley Race and Terry Funk are both no longer with us.
For what it's worth, Scott D'Amore owns the old library for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. So whatever he does choose to do with this company, if it's going to be a weekly television series or what the plan is, he does have access to that library, which is still kind of cool, like for the historical significance, but it's not like...
Well, I'm not going to buy a pay-per-view because of it.
Right. Well, that's what I was about to say. It's not like there's a huge audience clamoring for the lost archives of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Now, maybe I'll be proven wrong, and they'll run a few pay-per-views, and maybe we'll see what it's all about. But until that happens,
Well, I mean, they might run them, but chances are I ain't buying them.
True, but what kind of pay-per-view would you buy these days?
Not much.
The one with
WWE has killed wrestling pay-per-view in a large way. Because why should I pay? And we talked about this before. When TNA is getting 250 people buying a pay-per-view, when a 200-person pay-per-view, because we used to think they were drawing a couple of thousand maybe buyers. They're drawing 150,000. 200 was like the best audience they ever had. That was the last pay-per-view they did. I don't know what to say to half this shit anymore.
Hey, look, you just don't know. You don't know what it's all about.
All right, Kevin Owens.
I was waiting for someone to say something. I've been practicing my my Quebec accent.
Yeah, that was an accident, all right.
Yeah.
Well, they outlawed what? Never mind. Never mind.
Well, and then to go back to what I don't remember who said it, but was talking about with all the money that Tony has, does it matter if it's profitable or not? Well, to Tony, probably not. I mean, maybe, because I don't know how much I don't know if his dad's given him a finite amount. I don't know if he's willing to fund it forever. I don't know a lot of things when it comes to the business side. I'd imagine since Warner Brothers Discovery has a small equity position, they would want it to be profitable. So, and I'm sure part of the reason they're on Warner Brothers TV is because they have a small equity position in it. And so, so is it important? Probably.
Computer restarting, Jay?
No, just getting some warning messages.
That you shouldn't go on those sites.
Well, you know how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should drink some maple syrup, you hoser. Where's Tim, by the way?
I don't know. I miss Tim. Tim is a good guy. Tim was a welcome part of this this whole thing that we do over here.
Well, now we can watch the NWA again.
Well, not so fast. I don't know.
Do they have X in Canada?
I hope so.
Do they have A?
Oh my God! What if their Twitter in Canada was called HAY.com? Hey,
A.
And instead of the Twitter bird, it's just a maple leaf.
Yes.
I think Five was able to watch it, wasn't she?
Yeah, Fee.
Faux fum.
Faux fum.
It's Fee, like Fiona, because her name is Fiona.
I like my faux and fum better.
By the way, did I tell you guys I'm going to be going to Scotland in the spring?
No.
Yeah, you've been telling us that for like 3 years now.
Well, because COVID messed it up, right? We had tickets paid for. That only the American flights got refunded because the flights in the UK, it wasn't considered an act of God, so they didn't refund those prices. But
damn atheist.
Yeah, but because of COVID, we got our refunds on most of the American flights, and then the hotels that we booked eventually gave us refunds, but it took a little bit. But now we're finally gonna get to go. In I think April is when we're leaving, and I asked Fiona, like, hey, let me know if there's a wrestling show happening in Scotland, because that's where she's from, near Edinburgh, and so I might get to see some Scottish wrestling. It makes me heart happy.
That is the worst accent. You should get shot for that. That's worse. That is not.
There's a city in Scotland called Caledonia.
Yes.
Caledonia is where the name Kaylee kind of originated from. That's my last name, Kaylee. And there's a soccer team, football, if you will. They're called the Kaylee Thistle. So I'm going to go to one of those games too. I'm going to go see the Kayleys play soccer.
Just don't call it soccer. Which is actually, I love the fact that people say, it's not soccer, but that's actually a European term before it was anything else.
And we're also going to go to the Isle of Man, which is where the lineage of my family comes from. So
let me know if you end up in Wales or I guess England at the Royal Forest of Dean.
Yeah, well, I will be in the UK or in England, in London, for about a day. And then we travel to the other countries.
You got to go see the crown jewels.
I probably won't.
Yeah, you have to.
It's the law.
Yeah. So
put you in a stockade if you don't.
So anyway, we've had this big thing of AEW and their TV deal. We're not sure what's going on with ROH. ROH is taping their show before Dynamite yesterday, and 2 different people get knocked out cold.
I thought it was 3.
It's total 3.
But 3 got knocked out cold. I know 3 got hurt. I didn't know
3 got injured. Okay, I thought it was all 3 got knocked out, but.
So before we get to that, like I did want to point out because we were talking about this earlier, and I kind of included that in the bio here for this video. But Ring of Honor, AEW, specifically AEW, like look, no wrestling promotion is above injuries, right? There's wrestlers are getting hurt in New Japan Pro Wrestling, wrestlers are getting hurt in the WWE, wrestlers are getting hurt on SmackDown, NXT, NWA. I mean, it's not a safe sport, right? Like wrestling, you're gonna get hurt, but
it's not ballet.
What's that?
It's not ballet.
It's not ballet. But in the last year, there's been like over 16. I said 15 in the thing in the write-up, but there have been over 15 wrestlers from Ring of Honor who've been injured to the point where they can't compete. And I'm talking about like Eddie Kingston, Powerhouse Hobbs, Adam Copeland, Trent Beretta, Skye Blue, Dalton Castle, Riho, Jay White, JD Drake, Matt Sydal, Julia Hart, The Blade, Ortiz, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, but I think that happened last year, Keith Lee, and I mean that's an entire roster of talent who are now unavailable due to injury. What does that say about AEW as a product? Is it too fast? Are they going too hard? Or is this more of a byproduct that they're not doing enough live events to keep their guys well oiled?
I want to say one thing here, and then I want Jaden's opinion on the question that you asked. But there's a difference between getting hurt and getting injured. And there was an old saying in football: you were expected to play hurt, but you should never play injured. And sure, even back in the day, guys got hurt, or guys got their bell rung, and or got a stinger or something. Not Sting the wrestler, stinger in the spinal system. It happened, but guys are getting seriously injured these days,
and gals.
And this is where I go back to Jim Cornette's quote: "Wrestling's never been more fake, and more wrestlers have never been more seriously injured than now." And so it seems like a contradiction. So with that, we'll let Jaden answer your question as to why it's happening.
Okay. First of all, people are doing things they don't know how to do. They may think they know how to do them. They definitely don't know how to do them safely. They're doing shit that's just fancy and because they can, but not also know because they why. And yes, repetition matters. Wrestling often, when you wrestle that often, you learn to wrestle a lot more safely because you know you have to wrestle again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day and maybe a day after that. So when you're wrestling a lot, you know how to do what you need to do so you're able to make money. Part of the problems is with these guaranteed contracts, these guys, and the fact that they're barely wrestling, these guys are blowing their load right away in every single match and not really pacing themselves and not really doing what's needed to do and a pace that needs to be done and a bumping stature and a move stature that needs to be done. And that's the problem, is they just go out and do everything they can as fast as they can, as soon as they can, as fancy as they can, and don't save anything for the big moments because they only wrestle like once a week. So they don't know better. They're not doing it every day. And that's what leads to injuries. So the fact that, it's one thing if you're wrestling every once a weekend, or even if that once a month, then you're going to do everything you can because you have all that pent up energy and you're out there for the first time in front of a crowd and you're doing things with this excitement and you're trying to get your stuff in because you only have a limited amount of time to get yourself over. If you were wrestling all the time, you wouldn't be able to keep up that pace because you definitely 100% would be injured. So that's when you learn to wrestle smarter, not fancier and flyer and and crappier and doing things that you really should not be doing just because you think you can.
Now, let me ask you a question, because something you said just kind of resonated with me. And it's when I'm thinking about, EC3, right? And we saw him live, me and Milk Mascaras. And before that, DKM and I saw him live. And one of our biggest complaints was it didn't feel like he had a next level, right?
A second gear.
Yeah, second gear. Thank you. And so then now I'm wondering, is there a fine line between that second gear and what's happening with a lot of the talent in AEW, or is what EC3 doing the correct way for pro wrestling? Because I haven't heard EC3 getting injured in any of the, nearly 50 title matches he had as world champion last year and this year. And I don't think he injured anybody while he was working all throughout the country, wrestling guys who were, in tip-top shape, and guys who were past their prime, and guys who hadn't made it yet. He wrestled a variety of talent, and I didn't hear once that he was injured. Well, that's not true. I guess he was injured a couple times, but he was nothing seriously career-ending injury,
Yeah, and part of it is because he's so big.
Okay.
If you notice his belly, that's not a belly for somebody who is, how do I put this? That's a supplement belly, but not a supplement you buy at GNC.
Sure.
And that big size of his is partially why I think he's not going into a second gear, because it takes a lot of oxygen, a lot of energy to run the muscles that big. So he's pacing himself because that's what he needs to do to get through the match. I think a svelter, more athletic build on an EC3 would still be big, but not like he is now.
Yeah.
I think you would probably see a second gear because he would have more of the endurance and the physical stature to do it. But also, he's no spring chicken. He was in the WWE developmental for a very long time before he ever got a break in TNA.
Yes.
And as he did his whole TNA run, and he did a little bit of Ring of Honor, and he did back to the WWE NXT version, and then the WWE, and then started controlling his own narrative. But he has been around for a while. His size is physically impressive, but not built for somebody who has to wrestle a second gear style. And second gears are tough. There's a lot of wrestlers who just never have it. Some people go from first gear to fifth gear and grind all their gears on the way. But, some people just don't have a second gear. And when you get older, that second gear is harder and harder to get into.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch any of Roman Reigns' title defenses this last go around as Universal, Undisputed Universal?
Yeah.
4-year champion. Okay. He took some criticism for his matches starting slow. But if you look and you watch, his style was actually very much some of the old school style of world title matches when they were going to go 30, 40 minutes, or especially if they were going to go hour Broadway, which is, and despite what people say, there weren't a lot of rest holds back then. They just had rest holds for an hour. No, they didn't. But they did start slow. And they started because it was supposed to be a psychological thing. You start slow, you test out your opponent, you feel where it's going. And then as the match goes on, you'll notice, like Jaden says, all of a sudden there was a second gear. They started to pick things up. Things started, moving. Things started going slow, started speeding up. Then they would hit a third gear. And then maybe they'd drop back down to second. And then they'd pick it back up. And, by the end of the match, they're going. And it's exciting. And everybody's, waiting to see who's going to win. Or even if you know who's going to win, how it's going to happen. And these are the type of thing. They used to call it something else. They used to call it telling a story in the ring. And, you know, that's kind of what's missing. When they're doing the fast flying, going everywhere, you know, here, let me kick you in the head and kick you in the head again, and kick you in the head the third time as you just wave back and forth while standing there. Now I'm going to run to the ropes. And in the split second that I choose to run to the ropes, you are suddenly perfectly fine, and you follow me in, running into the ropes and knee me in the gut, and I flip over, and people go, "Oh, that's so athletic, ain't it great?" No, it's not that. It's not really that athletic, and it sure is all great. Because if I want to see ballet, then I'll go to a ballet show. I want to see simulated fighting. It's something that can make me believe I'm seeing simulated fighting. And, so that, what EC3 was doing was that he was never getting out of second gear. And like Jaden said, probably because of some of the supplements he was taking or is taking or whatever. And, when you do what he was doing in the thing, I mean, looking back, EC3 had the benefit of, we all hated Tyra so bad. We were glad that somebody else won the title. And then the second benefit he had was that he was going everywhere. Exactly. He was.
I can't see you, Jay. Where'd you go? Where's your studio? Oh, there you are.
Got blacked out by the sun.
Yeah.
An eclipse.
Total eclipse of the heart.
That's Jupiter. No small moon.
Jupiter. Anyway, so
Uranus.
The key is that he was wrestling a lot of different places, taking the title everywhere, and he wasn't Tyrus. And we were also happy for that. But really, his matches were never that exciting. I'm not going to say they weren't that good. He had a couple that I kind of enjoyed, but they were never exciting.
What's funny is the match that I probably enjoyed the most that I watched from EC3 was when he took on SoCal independent wrestler Honest John right here in, just miles away from where I live in my backyard. I liked it because Honest John is young, hungry, was willing to get in there and work. And EC3, I'm not going to say he carried Honest John to a good match. I think Honest John is a very talented wrestler, but he challenged EC3. He didn't just let him go out there and walk through the match. DK, you and I were at Crockett Cup, and I was so terribly disappointed in that matchup between the world's heavyweight champion and El Rudo.
No, if I had known what type of match it was, that's when I would have got up and used the restroom and,
got me another breakfast burrito.
Something. Hey, Paladin, dear friend, old buddy of ours, go watch last week's show where we talk about Shockwave and trademarks and who did what when, and what can happen.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Yes. Yeah, so go back to last week's show. We talk about it quite thoroughly. So back to our things. So what were the injuries, Mr. J, that happened yesterday that kind of brought this all up?
Well, being reported from Mike Johnson and the Pro Wrestling Insider, it's apparently a female wrestler by the name of Madden, Madan, Madden, I don't know. What's that now?
She was like a local or something like that.
Yeah. They were wrestling in Pittsburgh, and Lady Frost, who's known for her high-flying...
her big butt.
Okay. Her high-flying style of wrestling. I saw it once where I think she called it like ninja wrestling or something like that. I don't know. I'm killing it. Anyways, I remember when Lady Frost was in the NWA, I thought she was one of the most polished all-around performers in the ring for the NWA at the time. and I still think she's really, really good. Apparently, one of the moves that she did yesterday or 2 days ago might have knocked Madden out, where it's apparently her legs landed on the head and or neck of Madden and caused her to be essentially knocked out, and they carried her out on a gurney. So, thoughts and prayers for Madden.
On a board.
On a board. What's the difference between a board and a gurney?
The gurney's just the soft thing like you think of in an ambulance. The board is actually used to, it's the hard plastic thing they use to stabilize your back and neck.
Okay, well that makes
that's actually more for the injuries of the spinal area. They use the board more often.
That makes it a lot more scarier. Okay, so we hope that she is okay. But yeah, that's apparently one of the injuries that happened. And then the other injury that I know of is that Sammy Guevara was knocked out during his match against Serpentico. Is that how you say it? Serpentico?
Serpentico.
Serpentico. I like that better. Serpentico. And I guess that happened on ROH programming as well before Dynamite went off the air. According to the fans in attendance, Serpentico came off the top, but Guevara went to snatch him into a cutter. Somehow the timing was a little off, and Serpentico landed with Guevara's face under him, and Guevara was immediately knocked unconscious. Now, that's really scary because I know Sammy Guevara has had some concussions in the past, and that's very, from my understanding of concussions, and I'm not an expert, but the first one is the hardest one to get, and then after that, they become a lot easier to get them.
As somebody who had 10 documented ones, I could tell you that it's really, really bad. And not only that, but somebody who's had 10 documented ones, I can tell you it's really, really bad.
I see what you did there, and I can appreciate that.
What was I doing? No,
by the way, it was murder gymnastics. Murder gymnastics is what Lady Frost called it, and I think that I love the name. I don't love the actual completion of said name, but the idea of murder gymnastics sounds terrific until it actually murders somebody.
And I think Sammy was taken out on a
stretcher, gurney.
Yeah, gurney, stretcher.
So, I mean, those are two pretty significant injuries. And then there was apparently one more, too. What was that one, DK?
I think you're referring to James H. Jackson. I see you in the thing, so you might pop up a little more on it. But apparently Adam Page had thrown Juice Robinson and into the, I don't know if he was throwing, I don't know exact thing. He was throwing him either across the ring or into a turnbuckle or whatever, but his head slammed into the post.
Which is why I thought he was knocked out too.
Yeah. But I did not hear that he was knocked out. But I did hear that he was injured, and James was reporting that while watching. So, James, if you know any more about that one, feel free to post into the thing.
There's somebody I think that some companies should find a way to acquire is Juice Robinson. He is somebody, out of all the New Japan guys that AEW picked up, I think the one with the most money-making potential is Juice. Obviously, other than the British guy whose name just completely blanked out of my head.
Will Ospreay?
Yeah, other than Ospreay. Ospreay's money too, even if he's stupid about it. Bro. But yeah, but I think Juice is probably somebody that would be a good pickup for any company if they can find a way to get him legally.
Were you not a fan of a Switchblade, Jay White?
He was okay, but he's doesn't have a personality second gear.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, he's okay in the ring. He does the stuff. He just misses. The Juice has money making personality, body language. He has things that Jay White was fine. He was technically fine. He just was kind of blah.
Okay. I mean, I kind of like Jay White, but in terms of like an overall gimmick, something other than in-ring action, I don't know that he was the best promo guy. I've heard him interviewed, and he sounds like a very intelligent individual, but I don't know if that ever translated to a promo.
I don't know. He just didn't have something. He was missing something, and maybe he has it, and it's just never been brought out into him, or maybe the right company doesn't, right wrestler, or whatever. But every time I've seen him, unlike Bobby Eaton, who was spectacular at his time, so he can get away with not having a personality, Jay White was sound, but was never that spectacular that he can get away with it. Dean Malenko didn't have a personality, even though apparently he did. He just never had one on camera. Same thing for Brad Armstrong. But they were spectacular where they stood out, at least. He's just another guy who does modern wrestling stuff.
For the record, Dean Malenko's gimmick was that he had no personality.
But it's funny because, again, apparently he did. It just didn't come out on camera.
Right. That's the thing.
I have the update on the injuries. As of 10:53 this morning, says the word making the rounds among AEW talent this morning is that Callie Madden, who was knocked out at the end of her match with Lady Frost last night in Pittsburgh, suffered a concussion, was alert and coherent last night after going to the hospital, which thankfully was right next to the Peterson Event Center.
Yeah, AEW, book all your events against right downstream from the hospital for that one.
And Sammy is also believed to have suffered a concussion. So,
what about Juice? Was he legit hurt, or?
I don't.
Just had his bell rung.
I think he just had his bell rung.
One of the hardest things to recover in a match is if you just land awkwardly and have the breath knocked out of you. It is so hard to get that back during a match because wrestling itself is a very anaerobic sport where for some reason he doesn't look like it, but running in that ring is very difficult. I always equate it to running in sand, and I don't care how good of a condition you are. It's a different condition for both amateur wrestling and professional wrestling, even though not for the same reasons. But when you get the wind knocked out of you, it also really just makes everything else for the rest of the match harder. It's very unlikely you recover.
It is something. So we will see. All right. So what else are we talking about tonight? Anything?
Do you want the result? Okay, I'm sorry.
We will talk about the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator event. In fact, I think now would be a good time to bring that up and talk about that. Of course, that was the other event happening at Sacred Heart, the premier event that was happening at Sacred Heart over the weekend. And
Alliance-Wrestling.com gave live updates.
The results were right there, as shared by the fine people at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators on social media afterwards. Real quick, is it all right if I read the results, or Jaden, would you like to do it?
You read it and I can comment on it if you want to do that. And by the way, shout out to Big Chris Dog, who actually made it, and I'm very proud of him, and I'm very happy, and I hope you can see him in the at the next event, because it's actually kind of, I think, even closer to him and just as easy to get to.
And that's that college town traffic that you were speaking of earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So the opening bout, I believe these were in order, so if they're not, I apologize in advance, but the opening bout was Valerie Vermin defeating Zoe Cannon to retain the World Wrestling Grand Prix Women's Championship.
Yes, and Valerie was very personable. By personality, I mean she showed a lot of personality. The personality she showed wasn't one that fans really liked, but she was very vocal and very engaging with the crowd, and boy, did that crowd hate her. It wasn't a large crowd. We were hoping for a bigger one, but everybody there hated Valerie Berman, and they absolutely loved Zoe. And Zoe Cannon, she showed a lot too. If you guys haven't seen her, I'd recommend. I know Jay's being a prevert, but
I don't even know what Zoe Cannon looks like. I gotta watch the match when it hits YouTube.
Yes. And by the way, for people complaining it's not on YouTube yet, it's because we want you to go to events. We don't want you to stay on YouTube. You want to watch it, go to the event. Then if you want to see it fast, go to the event. If you don't want to wait for it, then go to the event. That's why we wait to put these things up. But Valerie it was a very good match. They had a really good engagement. It's actually available partially on our Facebook page. No, I'm sorry, our Instagram page if you want to watch some highlights from it. And the fans really got into it. They really bit into what Valerie had in her nasty girl persona. Her pretty is powerful, or whatever you want to call it. You know, she would have fit really, really well in Pretty Empowered. Actually, now you think about it. And Zoe had that crowd around her finger too, just wrapped around her finger, doing everything. So that was a really not a surprisingly good match, but it was. I do recommend when it does show up on YouTube, going out of your way to try to find and see it.
Now, does Dr. Dr. Zirconium, geez, I can't talk anymore. Is he aware that we would like to have Valerie Verman on this show? I mean, is that a possibility? Can we get Gold on this show? Like, there's a lot of talent in the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, and all props to Dr. Z. I mean, Tank Tolan was an amazing interview. I enjoyed speaking to him a lot. But Valerie Verman, Goldie, Breaker Moran. I mean, all of these folks are welcome on this show.
Breaker doesn't like doing interviews for some reason. I don't know why.
All right.
I'm working on, with Dr. Z's help, to get some more people on there. In fact, I know, unfortunately, he won't be at the event now, but I do know Dr. Zirconium can arrange it so you can possibly have Spencer Slade on the event, and I'm on the Alliance guys. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
and he will be on a dog event. He just won't be on the next one. But they are working. In fact, I think didn't Dr. Z send you a bumper from Goldie?
Yeah, the problem is I just didn't get it up this week, but it will be here next week for sure.
Okay.
It was a good bumper, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. But yeah, we'll get that up, and we'll get that up soon.
But they're working on it, and the problem is Dr. Z told her about the last event, and she didn't get back to him, and all of a sudden realized she wasn't booked on the event and demanded to be on it last minute. So I think she needs a personal assistant to handle her scheduling for her.
Women can't live with them. I get my ass kicked later when my wife sees this.
Yes.
The next match on this event was Samuel Thompson beating Silver Lobo. I think Silver Lobo is a new guy to the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator universe. Tell me about this matchup.
All right, Samuel's been around for a while, and the first time we've actually, if you watch a couple of Rowan events ago, where he teamed with Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh to take on Patch, Finney the Fixer, and Rick and Volodygurski. That was the first time we saw Samuel, I believe, maybe the second. I think maybe the second time at a dog event. But he's put on some muscle since then, and he's really been impressive. You can tell he's been working hard to get better in the ring, and he's really showing all that progression that he's made. I think his ego holds him down a little bit, but he's got a lot of potential in the ring, and when he puts on a little more size, I think you're going to hear more about him. Silver Lobo made his debut at the last Rowan College of Burlington County event, and it's the second time he's been on the card. But he's a good young kid with a lot of talent. He's showing, trains at the Monster Factory, works with both traditional professional wrestling and lucha libre. And I love his little have no fear. Silver Lobo is here. I don't know why I love that so much, but I do.
Fair. Then we have Dave Dahl and Dylan Messerschmidt.
It's actually Mesh. I don't know why the Lions.wrestling.com put that down there.
It's Messer?
Mesh.
Yeah, I knew that. Why? Okay, I'll fix that later. Dylan Mesh. I knew that. With Connor the Flag Boy, they took on and defeated the team affectionately referred to as the Ring Crew. I know that wasn't their official name, but that's what the info we got online was.
Yes.
Tell me
their official names. Hold on, I actually have it. Oh no, I don't.
I got it right here in my other jacket.
I do. It's Antoni and Skylar Kincaid.
Skylar Kincaid.
Skylar Kincaid's actually a journeyman wrestler around here who wrestles a lot of places and is starting to make a name for himself. And Tony, I think this is only like his third or fourth match. And I think the inexperience showed, and Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh took advantage of it. By the way, also Ant was also one of the other flag boys. I know Connor the flag boy only got all the credit, but they actually brought in sometime the Dave Dahl's part-time flag boy, Ant. I just call him Ant. I don't know. I don't really know what his name is. It's just Ant. But yeah, they had two flag boys at this event. Connor even had his own flag boy.
What was the name of that tag team again?
They called them the Ring Crew.
Yeah.
But it's Skylar Kincaid and Antoni. Antoni. Antoni.
All right. I'm literally adjusting that as we speak.
But they were a young tag team. I think they've only had a few matches together. The original opponents were the Charm City Fight Club, and they were unable to make it. So they were a tag team that was trying to get a spot in Dog, and they ended up getting a Dog Tag Team Championship match.
That shows you right there why it's so important to
bring your gear.
Bring your gear, be responsible, and be ready for those opportunities when they provide themselves. And that's not just wrestling, but life in general. You need to be ready for the opportunities, but in wrestling specifically, you can be ready for these opportunities just by bringing your gear. And it doesn't hurt if you are helping out with the Ring Crew to get those opportunities. Like, look, Dr. Lawrence Zirconium could have been calling around the town to try to find a reasonable, decent tag team to make their Dog debut, to fill in that vacancy. But instead, there were two hardworking guys there on the, helping out already, and they got that opportunity. So kudos to those guys for taking advantage of that opportunity. And, on any given Saturday night at any given event, especially in pedestrian adjacently friendly Riverton, New Jersey, the history could have been made.
Yeah. One of the benefits that they had is they were not a well-established tag team. There's not a lot of video on them. And then Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh didn't have a lot of time to scout them, but they had plenty of time to scout Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh. And,
right.
And there's plenty of video out there on both of them as singles and tag team. So, an upset could have happened, and we could have had new tag team champions. You never know.
So that takes us to the next matchup there in Riverton, New Jersey, and that was Tank Tolan, friend of the Alliance, taking on Connor the Flag Boy. You don't have to tell me how that one went. I already know how it went, and I haven't seen 1 second of it.
Connor showed some heart. He got his ass kicked, but he showed some heart. And thanks to some underhanded tactics, he had control for a little while. But, man, once Tank hit him with that Polish hammer, he knocked him in the next week. It was great.
Well, now, I know you're sometimes in the back, sometimes you're in the front, sometimes you're, taking tickets. What did it mean for the Dog locker room to see Connor the Flag Boy, get what was coming to him?
There literally was a curtain that separated the locker room from this thing, and everybody, it was a sellout at the curtain watched Connor the Flag Boy getting his ass kicked. Only people that didn't get to watch it were Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh because they got thrown out.
There you go. Next up, we had Dave Goldie taking on the Pat Sawyer.
The indigenous Pat Sawyer.
Pat Sawyer. And that was for the World Wrestling Grand Prix Heavyweight Championship. Now, I saw some of the clips of that one online, and that Pat Sawyer is a lot bigger than I thought he was. That match looked to be really, really interesting, and I can't wait to see that one on YouTube.
Yeah, Goldie's not small, and Pat Sawyer was bigger than he was.
Yes.
Goldie's a good-sized individual, and he's really putting some size on him, just putting some muscle on him, and working on his wrestling skills. He's been working out with New Japan, Strong Dojo, the Monster Factory, and a lot of other places, and really starting to get his name out there. He's been in there with QT Marshall, and he's been in there with a lot of big-name talent. And excuse me, Pat Sawyer was trained by H.C. Loke of Ring of Honor and ECW fame. He came recommended highly to us, and the first person that actually saw him was Jim Molyneux, and he was the one that suggested, because he's the matchmaker, that this kid will really. It was one of those matches that it wasn't because of what Pat Sawyer did in the business, because he's still very young in the business.
Yeah.
It's one of those matches that they wanted to do because it's going to be one of those matches that in the future you're like, oh my God, you had Pat Sawyer on your card. Oh my God, David Goldie was wrestling on your card. It's kind of like when you give those hockey players, those young hockey players, those decent contracts that they didn't earn yet, because you're not paying them for what they did, you're paying them for what they can do. I think that with this match, you saw what Pat Sawyer could do. I mean, it was a lot of beef. They were like, that's a big boy. And like I said, Goldie's no small person himself, but it was a lot of hard-hitting, like, feel sore for the next 3 days just watching it match.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till it gets out there. It's not going to be super fast paced, but it wasn't slow either. It wasn't methodical. But I think in the future, you're going to be talking about both of these guys. Actually, I know in the future, you're going to be talking about both of these guys and what they're going to do. Anybody out there should keep an eye out there for these two, because they are really good in the ring.
The next matchup was Marvelous beating Pablo Pedro.
Yes, Pablo Pedro came from South America, Chile to be exact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he's in this country for a while now, trying to better his craft. He's a big-time star in Chilean wrestling and South American wrestling. But around here, he's not very well known.
Sure.
And he's really trying to make a name for himself. Marvelous is one of those guys who's been a hidden secret for many, many years now. And just about now, people are starting to notice him. But he's always had something special. It's just for some reason he never had the spotlight to show it. And I think that match would definitely put a spotlight on both of them. It was a good matchup. It was a conflict of styles, but it didn't make a bad matchup, if that makes sense. And I think, again, it's one of those ones you're going to be watching in the future. And like, oh my God, Pablo Pedro. I remember him when he was starting a dog, and now look at him. Or Marvelous. He's finally getting a shot to be something besides thrown around as a smaller guy.
Yeah. And that takes us to the next matchup with Nick Petit taking and beating Tarzan Duran. I don't know much about Tarzan Duran. Where did you guys find this guy?
He's a wrestler that has been around for a little bit now, but he's, again, a journeyman wrestler who's trying to get out there. He actually came with Tarzan Duran. He came with Pablo Pedro. He was his ride. They came together trying to get an opportunity in Doggy. He's been asking for a booking for a while. It's just, the opportunity wasn't there, but there was an open spot and Tarzan was there, and I know he's a good wrestler. And Nick Bati is another one of those guys that I want people to keep an eye out for, because he gets it. He understands subtle things for his inexperience in wrestling that wrestlers who've been in the business for 10 years don't understand. And that's why I think you need to really keep an eye on Nick Bati. I'm putting it now that he may be a future tag team champion, World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, dog champion, Mawa champion, which we'll get into later. He's going to hold some gold in my little circle with Dog Circle and Mawa and the companies we work with. And he's already the Monster Factory champion. He just recently won that. And I think you really, really need to keep an eye on Nick Bati. He's somebody who understands things that he reminds me of, like, when comparison they used to give to Kenny Dykstra. Now, he's not as phenomenal in the ring as Kenny Dykstra, because very few people in the world ever were. But Kenny Dykstra at 20 years old understood things in wrestling and was helping others learn things about wrestling that wrestling veterans didn't understand or took many, many years to figure out. And I think Nick Bati has that same thing, that same potential.
It sounds like there's a lot of zirconiums in the rough that were at that Sacred Heart event in Riverton.
Yes, and guys, please keep an eye out for them, because that's one thing Dr. Z and Jim Molyneux and even myself with my help, we do search a lot for finding people that aren't well known and trying to put a spotlight on them so they can be well known.
Next up, we have the we have the tag team bout between the Old School Empire and the world's sexiest tag team. Now, this I think is an upset anywhere in the world. The world's sexiest tag team gets the W over the Wiley veterans, former two-time dog tag team champions.
Two-time dog tag team champions. There's only been two other teams that have been two-time dog champions, and they're the third version of it. They're also the longest reigning Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators tag team champions. And they've had the most defenses of all the dog tag team championships. So they're well established enough, but for some reason, there's just something's off about them. It started when Patch had a vehicle issue, was not able to make the Rowan University event, and Vinny had to defend the dog tag team championship itself. And ever since then, there's just something off with both of them. Their timings are off. It's in singles matches, it's in tag matches. They're just, I don't know if just losing the championships it just threw them in a mental funk. I know it happened to superstar Billy Graham. I guess something happened, and then Vinny lost the Mawa championship soon after that too. I think something happened, and maybe it's a confidence issue. Maybe they need a sports psychologist. I know this happens to goaltenders sometimes.
Right.
You know, and then baseball players, pitchers especially, and you know, even batters. There's something they need to just tweak or figure out or get back on the pace. But once they are, I think they'll be it. I mean, they got a shot at that dog tag team championship despite the loss. They still got a shot coming up. So hopefully, you know, maybe they'll get it back together and they'll figure it out and figure out what they're doing wrong and get that timing right. But, you know, take nothing away from Dad Bod and All Natty Adam Matthews, who, again, has not a steroid in his body.
And then that takes us to the main event. Breaker Morant, the birthday boy, successfully in retaining the dog heavyweight championship against no longer busky Eric Martin. Eric Martin won me over the first time I saw him, years ago when he was the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion. Yeah.
No, Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiator champion, but you saw him fight for the WWGP championship.
That's right.
Against Chris Steele.
I was going to say I got mixed up there. I was watching the videos of him when he was the dog champion. And then, I know that, there were some circumstances that took that belt away from him. But seeing him against Chris Steele for the WWGP title live was quite the opportunity, too. I thought that he looked great then. How was this matchup? I know that Eric Martin hadn't been around for a while on a regular basis. Is he back now? Is he back, back to the grind with Dog?
Well, he was last time he appeared with Dog was at the Rowan College of Burlington County event, and he looked pretty impressive there. And he's starting to get back into the grind. He was trained originally by ECW's Jim Molyneux, the referee. Started going to the Ring of Honor schools. Again, somebody who's does everything he can to get better. Actually spent some time in Germany to get better inside the ring. He spent a good time there. Okay. So he's WXW in Germany. He's out there trying. He was out there trying to do something. He's recently had his second child, and I think he took a little step back with that. If he hasn't had it yet, actually, I think he's about to. I think he's about to have a second child. But he's starting to get back out there. He's very good in the ring. He's another guy who started off so skinny he had to run around the shower just to get wet. But now he's become busky. He's putting on some muscle. He's gotten really good in the ring. He started off too nice, and now he's got a real chip on his shoulder, like a aggressive streak that he didn't have. And that match was very good. I can't wait to see it on YouTube because that match was very, very good. Breaker is a established veteran. They've actually wrestled against each other singles twice, but they've been in tag team matches against each other about a half a dozen times, and they've been partners once. And it was nice to see it in a dog ring because it was one of those things that there wasn't the hugest crowd at the Sacred Heart Church, but I know they all appreciated that match and they were all talking about it. And there wasn't a bad match on the card, even with Daredevil Dave Dahl involved.
And that's saying something.
Dylan really carried him.
Good job, Dylan. So, wow.
That's a lot of weight to carry, too.
You beat me to it.
He might need a couple of your buckets to help.
My buckets, I have a weight limit, too. And the next event is October the 18th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Today's the 3rd or say the 4th?
Today is the 3rd.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
2 weeks from tomorrow. All right. It's coming
Yeah.
up quick. So,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say, yeah, and it's going to be at the Pennsville Middle School, Friday night, October 18th. The Pennsville Middle School's address is 4 William Penn Avenue in Pennsville, New Jersey. It's a charity event for the Foundation to the Future. If you are able to go, this means Dave Scooby. This means Tim. This means James H. Jackson. This means anybody within driving distance, and I consider driving distances as long as you're willing to drive.
Sorry, that made me laugh. You got me on that one.
Anybody in driving distance to the Pennsville Middle School, please be there. It's going to be, it helps for the charity. It's going to be a really good event. I know Falaba is going to be there. You're going to see OVW superstar DGAT Bundles make his return to Dog. ECW's own Jim Molyneux will be there. It's going to have a great card from top to bottom. Valerie Verman will be there. So that's going to, grab a lot of attention. She engages with the crowd, and they love to hate her. You're going to see the Old School Empire hopefully put it all back together, and when they challenge for the Dog Tag Team Championship, we don't know who's going to be wrestling against Breaker Morant right now, because unfortunately the NWA pulled Spencer Slade off the event because he has another event that he's booked on. But he'll be in Dog. He already talked about that, and we're going to get him on there soon. But we don't know who he's going to face. We got a Mawa championship match where the current champion, Tyler Skye, S-K-I with all capital letters, defends against Nick Batti, the kid I told you to keep an eye out on.
Right.
You got the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Championship again. It's Vinny the Fixer and Patch trying to go after Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh. Valerie Verman's defending against Stevie Brooks. I don't know why I wanted to call a different name. I want to call her Stevie Nicks. Stevie Brooks. And Stevie Brooks is a young wrestler who's starting to make a name for herself in the area, so that's going to be really, really good.
For a second there, you turned into a droid, but it sounds like you went back to normal now.
Okay, I'm not the droid you're looking for. It's going to, like I said, top to bottom. Oh, and Falaba is going to murder Connor the Flag Boy.
That poor kid.
He's going to get squished. Come on now. One of the most viewed videos I have that I helped put up on the Dog YouTube page is a short. I put it up there. I took the video and I edited it to make sure the video was up there of Dave Dog getting squashed by Falaba. I hope maybe as I'm talking about this, Jay's looking for it and trying to find it so he can play it. I think the Connor getting squashed by Falaba will be equally as enjoyed as me watching Dave Dog get splatted into the mat by former TNA Impact Wrestling superstar Falaba. And I think that short that is eventually going to be uploaded, and I'll make sure to do it because Dr. Zakoti wants not to do that stuff. But that short is going to be probably just as watched as Dave Dog getting squished. I can't wait to see it.
All right, I think I have it, so I'm going to try to pull it up real quick with tu permisión, con permisión. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on here. Oh,
I know I've watched it 7,211 times, and that's only half the amount of times since it's been watched. But do I continue the views of watching it while giggling? Does that actually help the count?
I don't know if that helps the algorithm or not, but it could. All right, let's see. As I'm desperately trying to do this quicker, I need a show producer, I think. Show producer would be great. Okay, and away we go.
Go say it again. Oh, I love that.
So yeah, that's interesting. That's good.
Come on, you tell me
Have you seen the promo that Connor just did? You tell me you don't want to see Connor the Flag Boy get just a pancake.
No, of course I do. Of course I do. I think we'll all enjoy that, and we'll make sure to put that up. Well, not me. I don't really have anything to do with it, but I'm sure that'll get up on the Dog Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. Make sure you check out that one. Now that DK is back, let's get back into the NWA because we were waiting for you, Mr. Mercer. What did you think of this week's Power? Just overall, what was the rate? What would you grade this week's Power?
Low B, high C.
What was the low point for you?
You have to ask that question.
I know what the answer is. I just want to make sure you and I are on the same page.
EC3 sitting in the chair yelling at Latimer.
That was your low point? My low point was the whole segment with Billy Corgan.
No, let me tell you why that wasn't my low point. I had no expectations.
That's fair. That's fair.
I consider it a highlight because I called it, at least part of it.
Hey, yeah. Jaden, you sound like you're becoming C-3PO.
C-3PO, human cyborg relations.
That's uncanny.
Yeah, that was very much like C-3PO.
I'll be back.
So anyway.
While he figures out his audio, so tell me why that wasn't the low point.
The reason it wasn't, like a lot of people at first, when they talked about the big announcement,
yes,
I thought it was going to be like some sliced in thing from Billy Corgan. As soon as I saw it was going to be from the event, and I remembered you telling me that there was no big announcement at the event, it was like going, well, okay, then this is going to be a nothing segment. It ran on way too effing long, I will say. But it just sucked in general,
I can't begin to understand the front office of the NWA, and I can't begin to understand why they do the things that they do. And for every positive step forward, I feel like they take a step backwards, sometimes 2 steps back. And I really feel like this night of wrestling, they edited these matches. Like, obviously, the main event of the evening was Tom Latimer versus Ethan Carter III for the 10 pounds of gold. That was the main event for the signature live event that was filmed in Philadelphia on August 31st. And what we got was, the tag match, which I think was like maybe even the semi-main event, following the speech from Billy Corgan, which was the first thing that they did. And I kept thinking, like, why did they include this? And the only thing that I can come up with is this. Initially, there was supposed to be an announcement. This is not confirmed by the NWA office. This is just your boy Jay spitballing here. And they realized that the announcement they either cannot make yet or whatever plan they had fell through. So they went with plan B, which was just having Meanie come out there and put over old William Patrick Corgan. And nothing sounds better than William Patrick Corgan is people saying how good he is. And, when we were all kind of thinking this would have been a perfect opportunity for them to splice in some footage of explaining the plan going forward. Hey, we're on X for the next 5 weeks, and our plan is to, make our debut here, or we're going to just roll with X, and this is the new home for the NWA until we find something else. Instead of any transparency at all, it was same old Billy, same old nothing, same old smokescreen. If Tony gets crap for his announcements that are going to change the wrestling world and actually are revealed to be great talents that are joining the roster, Billy is the king of saying nothing and it's supposed to be something. The worst kept secret in all of wrestling was Exodus Pro was going to be joining the NWA. Joe Kazana Promotion was going to join the NWA. Hell, we even saw Crossfire join the NWA. These were all foregone conclusions. There was nothing groundbreaking about these announcements. And when Billy says that this is going to be a big announcement, I'm having a third child. I mean, I'm happy for the guy. Look, I'm a father myself. I have 3 kids of my own, and they are the lights of my life. They are the the yin to my yang there, everything to me. But I don't go on my podcast or a platform that people are paying to watch a wrestling show and give them updates about my life. There's a time and place for that, and this was neither the time nor the place. This is, again, to me, while the NWA fails to connect with its audience because we get bullshit, bait and switch type advertising. There was no groundbreaking announcement. There was nothing important that was said there to the state of the NWA. For Billy Corgan, yeah, it was good. I'm glad you're having another kid. That's great. I'm glad that you're a partner and you have this life that you're building together, and that's wonderful. And like I said, kids are great. But why did you waste 20 minutes of my television viewing time to give me that? That was a sin.
Here's the thing, too. If I can go back in time and somehow buy the NWA and really do things right, maybe even buy Ring of Honor, this is, of course, make-believe. It'll never happen, but buy Ring of Honor, buy MLW, which I don't even think was available at the time. I don't even think it was a real thing at the time. Buy Impact and really make the NWA strong. I would actually hire Billy Corgan, and I would hire Billy Corgan as the president of the NWA. What I wouldn't have him do is coming up like some schlub with a pair of skinny jeans and a hoodie. I would have Billy Corgan coming out dressed like a Billy Corgan should be dressed. And bad enough that this happened, but he looked, if you didn't know who Billy Corgan was, or if you remember Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins 40 years ago or whatever it is now, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And you look at that, you would never believe that's the same guy. That guy means nothing in presentation other than unless you recognize the name.
I remember my sister had a crush on the guy that was singing on the ice cream truck. Today's the greatest day I've ever known. If she saw him today, she'd be like, what the fuck is Uncle Fester doing here?
Yeah, I know. He's a Cenobite from that horror movie series. But yeah, he needs, if he's even going to make anything, he's got to come out with his own song entrance and smoke and looking like something he would do in a concert, not look like some guy going to 7-Eleven. Do they have 7-Elevens out there, guys?
Out here, yeah.
Do you have 7-Elevens, DK? Okay. I'm making sure that wasn't a reference that was local to only me.
There were 7-Elevens in Mexico, so I mean.
7-Eleven actually started here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Did not know that. I always thought it was, for some reason, I always thought it was Las Vegas. I don't know why.
And then they were headquartered here at one point. Maybe they didn't start here, but they were headquartered here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then they all disappeared, and then I don't know what happened after.
I prefer Buc-ee's. Give me them beaver nuggets.
Buc-ee's.
Did you go to
Buc-ee's when you were here?
Yeah, but not with you. You were too busy to hang out with me. I drove by myself. Instead of driving out to Amarillo, I drove out to Buc-ee's.
At least I took Jay to Wawa.
I did. I've been to a Wawa twice now. I've been to a Buc-ee's by myself. I'm gonna go to a Tim Hortons when I get to Canada.
And you didn't get lost either.
No, I didn't. Because
to get us back on topic, though.
Real quick, on 7-Eleven, the trick now is get a slurp gulp. Take the Slurpee, put it into your big cup, whatever cup you choose, which is usually the big gulp cup because they tend to be bigger as to hear the 10,000 sirens go by. And then pour your soda into it. It's called a slurp gulp, and it's much better than doing ice. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know how to respond to that. Anyway, what we're talking about, Billy. No, here was my problem. So on the live stream, I got to watch about 90 seconds of the live stream on Monday, where they announced it was going to be on X or whatever. And they made it sound, and I think this was intentional. I don't think this is, we were misinterpreting. I think it was intentional. We're on X, and Billy's making a big announcement tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. Joe Galley does this thing, video that he posts on X. There's going to be a big announcement from Billy. on the show. Make sure you watch it. All right. What does anyone give a shit about? What's going on? What's happening? Where are you guys going to be now that you're no longer on CW? And this was obviously something that happened out of nowhere, since you have CW things on your tapings all the way through. So what the blank happened? And we know that they're not going to tell us what happened, but where are you going? Because the announcement was, we're going to be on X for the next 5 weeks. We're going to be available to our international viewers, and we know how great that was. And James says they hyped the big announcement all night long on Monday. And, so, where are we going after X? Here's this, where are we? We're going to be on X for 5 weeks. There's a big announcement tomorrow. Okay, what the hell is everybody expecting? Everybody's expecting Billy. We know nothing was announced at the thing. We're expecting Billy to have taped something. And they're going to slide it in and tell us what's going on. And do they? No. They give us the big nothingness. And I feel and I believe that they intentionally fucked the fans.
Yeah. 100%. Billy Corgan still got some name value, and that's 1,000% what they did.
And I think they 100% told the fans to bend over, and there's no room.
Maybe they used some of that baby oil from Diddy's house.
Oh, no.
I can't get into the.
No, we're not talking about that. No, that didn't happen. Both.
Nope. No, we don't talk about Diddy. We don't talk about Bruno, and we don't talk about Diddy. Okay.
So anyway, yeah. I mean, they lost a little bit of goodwill with me on that.
Did they have anything to begin with?
I mean, like, here was my thing. I was thinking somebody, I think it was Tim, was talking about the NWA, and I thought, it's not really fair to say the NWA, because I think some of the people there, like Joe Galley and maybe Kyle and Paul and Pollo and all of them, I think they're good people who want the best for the fans and everything like that. And so, yeah, there was some goodwill in that extent. Maybe I don't like Billy's booking, but I do think there are people out there that want what's good for the fans, that want what's best, that, wanted to, were upset that, they lost the international audience, blah, blah, blah. But for them to, according to James, hype their entire podcast about the big announcement, and for them to post it as a separate thing, that there's a big announcement when there wasn't. I mean, there just simply was not a big announcement. I mean, Jay brings up and talking about having a third kid. That wasn't even the announcement. He just kind of brings that up in the conversation. The announcement was basically the NWA is here to stay. Well, I hope the owner of the NWA would say something like that.
I personally hope he said he sold it to me for $1.
Oh, yeah,
I'd
but
buy it back for $1.
it's just one of those things of there was nothing, not even a nothing burger, because there was no burger at all. It was just nothing. It was a pep rally.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that's what it was. It was what you do off camera to get the crowd worked up, so that the crowd's all happy and cheering when you start the show, except for they included it instead of, not having that part on. And so, yeah, I mean, they did lose some goodwill with me. I think that they intentionally misled people. And they're going to come out and tell me they didn't. Well, we never said it was going to be about the TV or the show. We never said that. No, but you said it was going to be a big announcement. So even if it wasn't about TV, we expected a big announcement.
I started recording that, right? Because, I like to, for the website, for the live for the shorts on YouTube and on TikTok and everything else. I'll record some of the video, and I started recording Billy talking. And as soon as I found out, like, where are we going with this? I just turned it off. I'm like, this is a waste of time. He's not going to say anything. This is stupid.
Yeah, for a Pepper, they sure had an ugly ass cheerleader.
You get a piece of pie.
I love pie. Can it be sweet potato?
Out of all the pie, you're going to choose sweet potato pie?
I love a good sweet potato pie.
Look, it's October.
Second favorite pie that I could eat.
It's October. It's fall. We do pumpkin, so just deal with it.
Pie.
You know, if you do a sweet potato pie right, it's actually better than pumpkin. Too many people do sweet potato pie sweet, but when sweet potato pie, don't know where that came from, is done right, it's definitely a delicacy, especially with some white chocolate frosting on it.
Luthez, I go into every relationship being very open and honest about that. Nobody's disappointed. I don't like to disappoint people. I'm a straight shooter when it comes to that.
And a fast shooter, I heard too.
Hey, shh! Watch your mouth. There's children watching this show. Watch your mouth.
Don't make me go back into some Diddy jokes.
No.
No.
All right. So what's next then for the NW? Oh, well, wait. We didn't finish talking about Power. So
it's kind of a shame.
It was a really good show. Like outside of that, I left ECW Arena, 2300 Arena, feeling good about the NWA. I left having a lot of goodwill because I got to see a lot of my NWA family. You know, that hashtag NWA fam. I got to see the genuine people who support this alliance. You know, got to see Retro, got to see Luthez, got to hang out with Milk Mascaras, got to hang out with Sam Retro, Dave Scooby.
Sam Retro again for the third time.
Did I say it twice?
Yes.
Sorry, I haven't been sleeping well. Big Chris Dog. You know, and I got to make some new friends over at the Vintage Suplex Wrestling. So it was really cool. And this was a very positive experience for me. And for the most part, I thought the show was really, really good. Outside of maybe one match, I was very happy with everything. And then that kind of dashed away when I came back home and found out that the program is no longer on the CW app. It's going to it's going to X, which again, I guess that's not the biggest problem in the world. Look, it's not my money, right? Like, look, it only costs you $7.99 a month to broadcast live on X. So it's not like Billy went deep out of pocket to broadcast on X. I just don't personally, I don't see the profitability in it. But earlier in the chat, Overmetal brought up the fact that there was 89,000 views on X. So maybe that did do something for the NWA. And who knows, maybe next week will be an increase in viewership from this week. But I felt like the two matches that they presented were very good matches. I felt like Kerry Morton and Alex Taylor looked very competitive against the tag team champions, Murnochs. I thought that was a solid matchup. I wasn't expecting it to be as competitive as it was. And, Jane, you saw that match live. What did you think of that match?
I enjoyed it. I was really hoping Thrillbilly was part of it, but I thought I got to see Thrillbilly anyway, so it wasn't like that wasn't. If I didn't get to see Thrillbilly, I probably would have not liked it just out of spite.
Yeah.
But I did like the match. And Kerry Morton, say what you will, he has improved a bajillion folds. And that's 100%. The first time I really got to see Taylor. What's his name?
Alex Taylor.
That's the first time I really got to pay attention to him, and he looked like he belonged there. Everybody just looked good. I think the match was a little slower pace, but I enjoyed it. It was not bad, and I just wish, honestly, it picked up a little more at the end when I saw it live.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I enjoyed it. It was a good championship defense against a team that won the Crockett Cup, so it was a meaningful win for Murnochs. And I'm actually kind of happy to see Murnochs as champions.
It was also, let's not forget too, this matchup has been building up all year long. Like even the TV tapings in Tampa, remember that they had a match back then. They had the steel cage match. Then Taylor and Morton cost Murdoch's the Crockett Cup. You know, they're the ones that defeated the 2023 champions to win the Crockett Cup. So, I mean, there was a lot of build up to this matchup, and, you know, I would have liked to see the titles change hands just because it meant something historic and something cool to see. But Murdoch's as tag champions, I mean, that's a solid pairing. You know, I don't think I cared about Mike Knox ever in his career more than I do now. And I've been watching Knox since he was training at UPW back in 2000. You know, like, this was an exciting match for me to see these guys, and it was a good match. DCam, what did you think of that match?
Well, I didn't see it live. I didn't see it live. I'm going to say that. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was as good as both people on Discord and you guys have described.
Okay.
I had one issue at the very beginning when Southern Six jumped Knox and Murdoch.
Yeah.
And they were beating on him outside. The time I remember specific, but there were a couple like it. Murdoch got up in hell of a chop to Kerry Morton, and Morton completely no-sold it. I mean, 100% no-sold it. Maybe put his hand up to his chest for a second, but he just basically continued to beat on Murdoch. And something similar happened with Knox. I don't remember what. And it was just like, okay, that's ridiculous. And then, you know, you were talking about how competitive it was. And so I'm looking at these two big, huge dudes against, you know, let's be honest, a couple of the smaller ones.
Hey, both of them had been junior heavyweight champions this in the last calendar year. So,
and you know, Taylor's not that tall, and Kerry's at least got some height to him, but Alex Taylor's, you know, he's short, he's not that big, and like you said, they're being competitive. But now when they're in the ring and they sell big time. It's like you just no-sold the guy shot down on the floor. Now you're getting in the ring and they give you a backdrop and you're acting like you broke your back.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had a difficult time with that.
Okay.
Now, overall, I could get into the match. Certainly love Murdoch's. I'm like you, never cared about Mike Knox before. Didn't even know who he was when he came to the NWA. I only saw a little bit of Aces and 8 in TNA, and by a little bit, I mean like 2 episodes. So I wouldn't have known him from there. I mean, right. I probably saw him. It just, he had hair then, and I, wouldn't have made the connection. And so, but yeah, they've developed him enough in the NWA over the 2 or 3 years that he's been here for it to be, worthwhile, and you can get excited watching and things like that. I mean, I knew the title wasn't going to change hands because it just been so recent that they showed the title change for Murdoch's winning it. And so that was, I knew it wasn't going to change hands, but overall, I enjoyed the end. Of course, I enjoy any time Kerry Morton gets beat up. So
sorry, you got me on that one. That was good.
Kerry Morton wants to challenge Max for the TV title. Apparently, he's not calling her out by name. He says he wants to do it. And so I go, well, all you have to do is pin Max, which Max liked. And then Max commented to Kerry, well, come and take it, or whatever.
Well, he is the Riz Master.
And, I'm all for that because I would cheer Max in that match. And we all know how I feel about Max holding the television title. But yes, I would be a huge Max fan and cheer Max to beat up Kerry Morton.
How do you make Max a babyface? You put them in the ring with Kerry Morton.
Who would you cheer between Dave Dahl and Kerry Morton, DKM?
The ring collapsing and the earth opening and swallowing it.
I feel bad for the earth. Talk about earth pollution.
I do too.
Actually, I like Kerry.
We'd probably have some volcanic eruptions after that across the world, but
yeah, I like Kerry. So that's I don't want him to get sucked into the middle of the earth. Dave Dahl would give us a second Earth core.
Hey,
probably quintuple our gravity.
Real quick, we're running out of time. We were going to discuss what we thought was next for the NWA after these 5 weeks. Our pal James H. Jackson points out that Mike Johnson said today on PW Insider that they have another deal in place, but what it potentially is, they're keeping close to their vest. So they're on Twitter for the next 4 episodes because this is episode number 1. There's 5 total, and they'll go from there. So 5 episodes takes us well into November and towards the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if Power takes a hiatus to round out 2024. But we'll talk a little bit more about that next Thursday, as well as more to do with the NWA. We'll be covering the 76th anniversary show. We'll be probably getting to preview a couple more events that are coming up for the NWA. Of course, this weekend, I do want to point out that there's some good wrestling going on. There is the Power TV tapings happening Saturday and Sunday in Tampa. If you are a fan of the NWA and you're in that region of the country, of course, check that out. There's also the Black Harvest event that's happening on Friday night. Kenzie Page will defend the women's championship against Tiffany Nieves. Hunter Drake will be taking on Jay Lethal, and more action happening at this event as well. Jackson Drake will be challenging Juventud Guerrera for that championship. Max the Impaler will be in action against Kylie Page. Like I said, Jay Lethal will be wrestling against Hunter Drake. Those are some big names for that event in Seaverville down there in Tennessee. So all good things. Of course, we'll preview some more of the shows that are coming up next week. But until then, I think we're going to call it a night. DK, where can they find you on social media if they want to find you?
Why would they want to find me?
I don't know.
If you want to find me on social media, you could look up at DKM FWTX on whatever social medias I'm on. Honestly, I haven't been overly active recently. If you have a chance to run across some neat websites, you might want to check those out. And yeah, that's all from me this week.
Also, James H. Jackson says you can go live with Black Harvest on Title Match Network. As always, if you can't go see it live, you can see it on Title Match Network. And then, of course, Dog Pro Wrestling. You can find them online. They're on social media. Different names for different sites. So, like, their YouTube page is Dog Pro Wrestling. Their Instagram page is Dog Uncensored. Where else?
That's because Dog Pro Wrestling got hacked and I was never able to get it back.
That's a bummer.
Yes.
And of course, real quick, if you guys want to check out IHWEETX, that's a good website to check out. And then, of course, the Alliance. We're everywhere at the Alliance blog, alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance, United Wrestling Network, and wrestling companies we want to support. If you enjoyed this show, we would appreciate if you give us a thumbs up. I'd even appreciate it more if you shared the video and commented. If you want to financially support the show, now you're talking. We sell Dubby. Well, we don't sell it directly, but we are an affiliate for the Dubby brand. If you're looking for some clean energy that doesn't give you the shakes, check out Dubby. Also, if you are in need of a trophy or a title for your fantasy sports team or your business, maybe a Salesman of the Month award, check out trophysmack.com. And use the link, the Alliance blog, for both of those sites for savings and for our benefit. We get a little kickback when you do that. I guess that's going to do it for us, guys. Anything else before we say goodnight?
Dave Dahl sucks.
What did you say?
Dave Dahl sucks.
Dave Dahl sucks, and we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog, and until next time, we are The Alliance.